Okay, here's the deal with today's video. I've got two add-ons that I believe every single World of Warcraft player should install, not because they will make you do an amazing amount of DPS or healing or some super high-end niche thing. No, because these make World of Warcraft simply better to play and more enjoyable. And I have a very direct example from you. It's a quote from our writer Matt, and at first it will seem completely unhinged. Here's the quote. I think the Siren Isle is one of the best bits of actual in-game storytelling they've maybe ever done. But here's the problem with that quote. Matt actually forgot that he had these add-ons installed on the PTR. And I'm not talking about just a fancy little dialogue box. This is much deeper. Our add-ons today are Dialog UI and Plumber. Both of them have had recent updates. They make the base version of World of Warcraft vastly more compelling. They make its storytelling and its just RPG experience better. I recommend them to everybody, just as I do today's sponsor. And man, they're just one of my favorite brands. It is Ugreen. Look, Ugreen have been in my EDC for years because they just make the best charging technology on Earth. And even better at this time of year, they make the perfect Christmas gift. Now, here are actually mainstays of what I use right now. They're from the Uno range. This is the Uno 100-watt charger, and this is the 2-in-1 magnetic wireless charger. Now, this lives in my bag, and this lives just on my bedside at home, actually. And they've got a deal on right now, up to 30% off on their website, and a £34,000 prize pool split between 300 winners who purchase products from the Uno and NAS Sync ranges. First up, the charger, which is so good I can actually barely believe it. Compared to the one that came with my MacBook, this is smaller, it is lighter, and it charges at 100 watts through its USB C1 and C2 ports. So that's actually faster than the Apple charger. And overall, it's got 3 USB-C ports and it's got an A port. And that means that one of these in my bag replaces every other charger that I have. This will charge an iPhone 16 from 0 to 57% in 30 minutes, right? And of course, it's cute. You know, the little face gives you like charging status and stuff. It's nice. It's also packed with 8 layers of safety against like overvoltage, overcurrent, overload, short circuits, overheating, that kind of thing. Now, the second piece of the puzzle for me then is this. This is the 2-in-1 magnet charger, and it is Qi 2. That means it's, it's magnetized. It will charge at full Qi 2 speeds. The top also articulates, right? So that means that my phone, it can go on in nightstand mode, and then in this little bit at the back, well, that's where I can put my earbuds. In my case, it's the AirPods Pro. I put them in there, they're magnetically charged, and then it's even got this little side port that is perfect for, say, charging up your smartwatch. It just handles it all. Lives on my bedside, I go to sleep, all my things are nice and charged in the morning. The whole Uno range is just delightful, absurdly performant, and incredible value. With this, you can sort out some amazing gifts that are actually useful for Christmas, or of course, you can just treat yourself, and you can do all of that. The link down below. The main culprit for Matt's Siren Isle enjoyment is Dialog UI. Its presentation of quest text and item descriptions combined with its new readable UI meant that he actually saw Blizzard's work. Now, you know how, say, FromSoft games, your Elden Rings, Dark Souls, people always talk about the deep, rich lore, but actually so much of that is from really well-written flavor text that builds the world via items and such. World of Warcraft can sometimes have that energy. Siren Isle is somewhere where they try way harder, but most players never see that because items are auto-looted into your bag and you never really know if there is any flavor text to take a look at. Dialog fixes all of that and it goes further. As an example, these are some optional zooms into NPCs that frame them up so the game looks less like an MMO and more like an RPG, so you can actually see the NPC you're talking to and maybe register, oh, that's a character that's different from the other characters that I last talked to in this one big mush of a gameplay session. It also controls much better. There's a one-button shortcut to scroll through a quest's text, and then when you're at the bottom, hand it in. And unlike so many add-ons in the game, it genuinely looks the part. Its texture work is gorgeous that actually matches World of Warcraft's aesthetic. I would say in many ways, it looks so much better than World of Warcraft's even modern UI aesthetic. Blizzard should be taking notes, and experiencing the Siren Isle with and without this is basically the difference between reading a Google Doc that's not formatted versus a beautifully styled PDF that's supposed to be a good immersive experience. And if you'd even like something like, say, text-to-speech, good news, it supports that as well. So that's how Dialog UI just makes playing World of Warcraft, the game that the developers tried to cook up, just better. But next, we gotta talk about Plumber, because my god, Plumber is amazing. First up, a bit of good news. Turns out you guys have not been gaslighting us for months. we just had Plumber installed, so the complaints that you guys reported, we just didn't notice them. I'll explain, right? I noticed people complaining, and just have been complaining lately, about a bug where the game's auto-loot was failing. And that sounds like real infuriating. Nobody in our team even noticed that. And it's because we've all got Plumber installed in our World of Warcrafts. And it turns out that Plumber had quietly solved that bug with its entire new loot window. Look at this, it's gorgeous. It's styled to be detailed but non-intrusive, and it's a massive upgrade over Blizzard's default, but it is of course quite a bit more functional. Number one, it has fast loot, and enabling that is next level. It is so damn fast, and it works perfectly with the lingering window, because sometimes it sucks whenever you loot things too quickly to even notice what the items are, but maybe you want to know what the items are, so then you end up just rummaging around your bags, or maybe it's a few extra clicks or holding a modifier key to temporarily turn off auto loot. And it's a pain in the ass. The lingering loot window solves this. You can loot everything and just take a look at the little lingering window to know what's up. And if you don't want to use auto loot, even better, Plumber has got a revolutionary feature, the take all button. Having a take all button in a loot window was not common when WoW launched in 2004, but they had become a mainstay since, 2006's Oblivion. WoW's a little bit out of date, so Plumber finally catches us up on that one. But it even gets better. Plumber solves an insane problem. Delves have no dungeon journal, right? You can't see what the mobs do. And Mythic Plus does have a dungeon journal, but it doesn't cover the trash. And these days, trash is a humongous part of Mythic Plus success or failure. It is a nightmare to figure out what is happening. You either need to go to an external guide, or perhaps record your gameplay to review later. Nobody wants to do that. Plumber's latest feature is a game changer. It's called Target Spellcasting, and just check this out. This is a list of mob abilities. Once basically the game has seen your targeted mob cast an ability, it will be present on this list, including tooltips. And it even has instant abilities and things like that that Blizzard would usually hide. Now this is really cool. It means that if you want to know what a specific enemy is doing, well, or say a reminder of what like a delve boss does, it's insanely useful. You just click in the mob and you look at the spells the mob's got. You can't do that otherwise. Maybe you've got to load up the NPC on the Wowhead database. And even better, Plumber also adds a mouse over tooltip so that you can see what's happening while an enemy is casting it, which basically means if there's one of those really long, scary casts with like, a big cast bar that's basically going to kill everybody, you can just mouse over the cast bar and see what the spell actually does, which is amazing. I just would have killed to have this when first learning Delves this expansion. It would mean that I could learn Delves without having to just intuit what the designers did or look something up in a guide. And certainly with new Delves and Dungeons in 11.1, this will be great. And so based on even those two features, Plumber is totally worth the install. But it turns out Plumber is actually full of so many other quality of life fixes and tweaks. Take a look at this. This is a breakdown of Azj-Kahet Renown, and you might not even notice that it's an add-on because it's so well integrated. Again, it took some of us weeks to realize that this was something that Plumber did, not actually Blizzard's UI. It's wild. It was almost the same for this other feature, which is so nice. It's the Backpack Item Tracker, and this is really cool. So what it is one spot to see all of your, say, crest caps, valor stones, and even catalyst charges. Now, of course, there is the Blizzard built-in tracker, but it only handles currency tab items, right? This handles stackable items. So that means wax if you're snuffling, cinder pollen if you're farming up the bee mount, anything like that. And even better, if you're using a bag add-on, like say Better Bags, it is compatible where it just makes this little floating version of itself. So that's also really cool. But there are other nice things as well, just random stuff that Plumber fixes or improves. I'll run through them now. Your Skyriding medal will show up on the race dialogue so that you know which ones you haven't got gold on without having to check the achievements menu. I mean, it's obvious, the game should do that anyway, but my god, I'm glad Plumber does. Even for the anniversary event, there's an on-screen button that will summon the mount that is called out in the mount off. And that's one of those things where the developer just saw, that's a bad user experience, let me fix it and update my add-on. And it's so much better. There are other examples too. Mousing over a reputation token will show you your current rep, which is really useful for, say, buying loads of those tokens during your time walkings. It also does things like show bountiful delves and special assignments on the full continent map, so you actually know what's going on at a glance without having to granularly go through every single zone. It does other nice things like automatically join the theater troupe, and it shows you how much it costs to click options, things like, say, donating wax. That's real good. And of course, some of that's War Within stuff, This add-on was around during Dragonflight, and there are so many content-specific fixes, as an example, for the Dream Seeds in patch 10.2. So if you're doing the overall meta achievement, this is a really nice add-on to have installed. Basically, I think it should now be renamed from Plumber to Handyman, because basically it's just like having somebody come around and absolutely fix all of the little issues you could have. No job seems to be too small or big, or no fix too specific or random. This is one of those add-ons that you install, you get it kept updated, say with the curse client or whatever, and basically who knows what decade-old fix will just enter the game. So obviously you can download these with your add-on client of choice, and with that said, let's just hop in game and talk about setup. I'll kick things off with the Dialog UI setup. This one's a little unique, so you get to the settings of it by hitting the F1 key while you're talking to an NPC. The theme is up to you. There is a brown version and a dark mode that are both gorgeous. The frame sizes can also vary based on your screen size. I'd say medium or large are probably the best options to just frame the screen and the text. You can also change the font size if you want to, maybe going a little bit larger to like keep the eye strain down or something. I would keep NPC name unticked. I think the game just does look a little bit better that way. Then there are a ton of little features that you should make sure are ticked on. So mark highest sell price, show quest type text, and then all of the boxes that are under readable. And next with those done, it's time to take a look at the camera. So the default zoom may be a little bit too aggressive for you. Honestly, it's too aggressive for me, especially if you're playing at max camera distance. So if you want to change that, there are a few things to try. You can keep the change FOV box ticked off, right? So you can turn that off and then keep the zoom multiplier at the maximum of 5. That'll be a more subtle effect, but one that still just kind of like reinforces the UX or fantasy of the game, the NPC interaction. Now, if that's too much, you can change the style to horizontal. For many, just having the like nice close sort of look at the NPCs talking is too good to give up from a like RPG perspective, but if you want to disable that and just have the really nice looking UI that's nicer to read, well, you can just leave it like that. Now under controls, it's up to you, but do make sure that tab to select reward is on, as well as key press to scroll down. Those are just really handy for controlling the quest pane without needing to use your mouse. Then there's emulate swipe gesture, which is actually quite nice. It does involve using the mouse, but basically it means that you can grab the actual like paper or, grab the texture and just drag it with your mouse instead of having to use your scroll wheel, which to some will be a good bit more comfortable. Now, gameplay is where your setup will likely matter the most, so make sure the quest item display is on. This is important, right? This shows the item descriptions, and that's where Blizzard's quest designers end up putting so much flavor, right? There's times you'll do a simple fetch quest and you'll think it's absolutely nothing. But if you actually look at the flavor text of the items, they put the whole damn thing in context. And that is part of how Matt was able to drink in all of the flavor text in the Siren Isle and actually appreciate the mythology that Blizzard were building. Even better, it lets you click on any readable items right away instead of, it going into your bag and you never right-clicking on it ever again. Therefore, never seeing the lore and not really knowing what's going on in the game. So make sure that these three things are ticked under Quest 2. They're massive time savers. And for the last bit, there is text to speech. You can change between different narrators. You can speed it up if you want. You can add an autoplay or a hotkey. Okay, that's Dialog UI setup. Next, we're going to set up Plumber, because if you don't turn the features on, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to use them, and that does include the loot window and target info. They're off by default. So let's solve that. Once it's installed, go to Options, then Add-ons, then Plumber. And I just recommend you turn everything on because they're all great, especially, of course, the loot window and the target spellcasting info. Those are just amazing. And as for some specifics, I'd say the defaults are fine, but there are a few things you may want to customize. As an example, under loot window, well, you can change where that pops up and you can change it to a font size that is a bit more preferable to you. If you want, you can also turn the fade delay up to like 0.5. Some people may find it's just a little bit speedy by default. And then if you really like this window, you can tick replace default loot alert to replace the big like middle of screen pop-up whenever you're getting personal loot. So that's quite nice. Now, there's also a talking head replacement. You may or may not like that, so it's basically up to you. What is good about it though is it takes up way less space on your UI. So I'd say that one is at least worth giving a try. And honestly, that's all you need to know. Play around with them, see what features you actually enjoy. And for overall play, these are the two best add-ons in the game right now, and that's because they make World of Warcraft a better game. They take things that Blizzard have simply not fixed, or low-hanging fruit that Blizzard has not, plucked off the tree to eat, and it just does them. So it's sad these aren't there by default, but the good news is you can change it, and a huge shout out to Peter Yu. He is the developer of these add-ons as well as Narcissus. Narcissus is a little bit more of an advanced thing if you're really big into like transmogs and taking screenshots of your character and stuff, so it's not really for everybody. But these two, well, they are. And the main thing we've all learned is that Peter Yu is on a personal quest to make World of Warcraft a much better game, so props to him. That's it for today's video, but of course there is always more stuff, and if you want some of that, well, hit up this video next. It's about lots of tips and tweaks and things that I've been doing for years. It's one of those videos. Did it get massive views? No. Go to the comments, and loads of newer players or even just lapsed players really loved it and found value in it. So if that's you, I think you'll enjoy what's there as well.